Let me ask you something. What happens to a working man's family when the rain takes his work away? If you grew up around farm work or day work, or any work where no whistle means no pay, you already know. In the spring of 1965, in the mountains of Durango, Mexico, it rained for a week straight on a John Wayne picture. The Hollywood crew got paid anyway, that's how their contracts worked. But the local men, the wranglers, the drivers, the laborers from town, their rule was simpler. No call, no pay. Wayne had just come back from the fight of his life, one lung, an oxygen tank waiting between scenes, doctors who told him to rest. And for 3 days, he watched that rain fall and said nothing. What he did at the end of the third day, no one in Durango ever forgot. By the way, for our nostalgia-loving viewers, I'm leaving my friend Henry's channel in the description below. Don't forget to pay him a visit after the story. Here is the story. The rain starts on a Monday morning, somewhere over the Sierra Madre, and by noon it has swallowed the whole valley. In Durango, Mexico, in the spring of 1965, a Hollywood production grinds to a halt. The Sons of Katie Elder is a big outdoor western. Horses, rivers, wide skies, and none of it can be shot through a wall of gray water. The assistant director makes the call before lunch. No filming today. At the hotel in town, the crew settles in for a paid vacation. That's how union contracts work. Weather or no weather, the checks keep coming. Men gather in the lobby and play cards and checkers. Somebody finds a guitar. The coffee flows, the stories get taller, and outside the windows the rain comes down like it's being paid by the gallon. It's all very cozy, unless you're from Durango. Because out past the hotel, in the neighborhoods where the local hires live, the wranglers, the truck drivers, the corral men, the laborers who feed and water 200 horses, a different arithmetic is starting. Their rule has no union behind it. It's the oldest rule of day work in the world. No call, no pay. Now understand what this picture already was before a single drop fell. 4 months earlier, John Wayne had been on an operating table in Los Angeles, having a cancerous lung and 2 ribs taken out of him. The studio wanted to delay the picture a year. The doctors wanted him resting. Wayne refused both, and the reason he gave, the reason that's on the record, is this. Too many people were counting on this picture for their living. So in January of 1965, he came to Durango, to mountain country, 8,500 feet up, where the air is thin enough to make a healthy man dizzy. For a man with one lung, it was a daily war. Between takes, he sat with an oxygen tank. He didn't hide it, and he didn't talk about it. He'd breathe a while, set the mask down, and go back to work. Hey, by the way, drop your state in the comments. I love seeing where all of you are watching from. Now back to story. The crew pretended not to watch. They watched. That was the man sitting in the hotel on the first day of rain, a man who had fought his way back from the edge of the grave to keep other people working. Sitting in a warm lobby, listening to the water come down, while the town outside went quiet. The first day, nobody thought much about it. Rain happens. The second day, a 12-year-old boy didn't smile when he brought the coffee. His name was Marco. Every working morning of that picture, Marco came up through the lot with a tin pot and found John Wayne wherever he was. His trailer, the corral fence, the shade of the equipment truck, and poured his coffee. It wasn't an official job. It was the kind of job a boy invents for himself when his father works on the picture and the biggest man in the world winks at him once. His father was Ignacio, the best horseman on the local payroll. 20 years of working stock in that valley. When the picture came to town, the wranglers from California figured out inside of a week that if a horse was nervous, or lame, or just ornery, you sent for Ignacio. He was called every single morning of the shoot, until the rain. On the second wet morning, Marco appeared at the hotel with his pot because a boy doesn't abandon his post. Wayne took his cup, looked at the boy's face, and asked how his father was keeping. Marco answered the way children answer when they're repeating something they heard through a wall. "My father was not called this week, Mr. Wayne. Maybe when the sky opens." Wayne nodded, said something easy. The boy went off with his pot, and Wayne sat with that sentence the way you sit with a stone in your boot. Because he knew what "not called" meant in a town like this. He'd been poor himself, poor enough to remember it in his hands. Not called meant beans stretched thin. Not called meant the mother counting coins at the market. Not called, for a week, in a town where the picture was the best work anyone had seen in years. That wasn't weather. That was hunger, waiting politely. The third morning, the coffee didn't come. Wayne noticed. Of course he noticed. He asked one of the drivers, casual as asking about the weather, where the boy had got to. The driver hesitated, then said it plain. Ignacio had sent the boy out to look for town work, errands, anything. A family can't sit home 3 days eating its savings while the sky decides. Wayne didn't say anything to that either. But that afternoon he asked his assistant a question, and the answer came back confirming what he already suspected. Some 40 local men were sitting home unpaid, and there was nothing anyone could officially do about it. The production manager wasn't a cruel man. He was a man with a budget. "I can't put locals on the clock to stand around," he said, and he was right. "Los Angeles would have my head." The rain kept falling. The crew played cards. And at the end of that third day, John Wayne, one lung, doctor's orders, a man with every excuse on earth to sit still, decided he'd sat still long enough. He didn't make a speech. He didn't write a check in front of anybody. What he did was walk into the production office, sit down across from the production manager, and start talking about the condition of the set, like a rancher talking about his spread. The corrals needed paint before the big stock scenes. The tack, 200 horses worth of saddles and bridles and harness, needed oiling, and everybody knew it. The trucks were overdue for a going over. Half the fence line on the back lot wobbled when you leaned on it. All of it real work. All of it work the picture would need done sooner or later. And every bit of it could be done in the rain, under a roof. "We're burning a week sitting on our hands," Wayne said. "Let's work the weather instead of cursing it. Call the locals in. There's a dry barn full of jobs out there." The production manager started to say the word budget, and Wayne said the only sentence anyone ever heard about the money, and it was 6 words long. "If LA squawks, send them to me." That was the whole mechanism. No fund, no charity, no ceremony. Just work that needed doing, and men who needed work, introduced to each other a week early. By nightfall, word was moving through Durango the way word moves in a town like that. Kitchen to kitchen, cantina to cantina, over fences and through doorways. "They're calling everyone tomorrow, rain or no rain. Bring your work clothes." Nobody knew exactly whose idea it was. Everybody knew exactly whose idea it was. The fourth morning, 40 men showed up in the rain, and the barns of that production turned into something between a workshop and a festival. Under the main barn roof, a paint line, corral rails coming through, men laughing over brushes, the smell of paint cutting through the smell of wet earth. In the tack shed, a row of older men, the ones who'd been saddling horses since before Hollywood existed, working oil into leather with their sleeves rolled, telling stories in 2 languages. Under the equipment canopy, hoods up on the trucks, tools passing hand to hand. Somebody's wife sent tamales. Somebody found that guitar again. Ignacio was at the paint line before the sun was fully up, and trotting behind him, carrying brushes like they were rifles for the cavalry, Marco. Back on his post, a working man again. And Wayne? Wayne came out to the barns. He didn't paint. His body had no business painting, and every man there knew why. The whole valley knew what he'd come back from. But he came out in a rain slicker, and he stayed. He sat on a crate with his coffee and learned the names of men he'd only ever nodded at. He walked the tack line and picked up a bridle and admired the work like a man who knew what he was looking at, because he did. At lunch, he sat on the fence rail with the paint crew and played cards on an upturned barrel and lost cheerfully and demanded a rematch. The rain drummed on the roof, And the biggest movie star on earth spent his sick days the way he'd have spent them if the cancer had won the argument, with working people, in a barn, laughing. Have you ever seen a town exhale? That's what that week was. You could hear it. His health made the rules, and everyone quietly honored them. When the air got too thin for him, he'd go back to the trailer and the tank without a word, and be back in an hour. Nobody stared. Nobody said the word oxygen. The men just kept a dry chair open near the stove, and it was always his. The production manager stood in the office doorway watching all of it. The paint line, the tamales, the card games, the star on the crate, and went back inside without saying anything at all. He was doing arithmetic of his own. It rained for 3 more days, and the work orders kept coming, and every one of those 40 men drew a full day's pay for every one of those days. Then, on the 8th morning, the sky broke open, blue as a flag, and the sons of Katie Elder went back to work. And here's the part the production manager never forgot, the part that turned him from a man with a budget into a man with a story he'd tell for the rest of his career. The picture came back to the best-kept set of the whole schedule. Corrals painted and solid, 200 horses worth of tack, supple and ready, trucks that started on the first turn, fence lines that didn't wobble. A week of maintenance that would have cost the production real money and real delays later, done ahead of schedule, by men who knew the work better than anyone they could have flown in. When Los Angeles finally asked about the strange week of maintenance charges on a rained-out schedule, the production manager didn't route the question to Wayne the way he'd been told he could. He answered it himself. One line. Best money this picture spent. The sons of Katie Elder came out that summer and did fine business, and the reviews talked about Wayne looking strong, and nobody watching in the theaters knew anything about oxygen tanks or thin air. And they knew nothing at all about the week of rain, because Wayne never said one word about it. Not to the press junkets, not in the interviews, not ever. There was nothing to point to anyway. No fund with a name on it, no check anybody ever saw, just a stack of work orders in a production file, and 40 families in Durango who ate well through a wet week and never had to call it help. But Durango remembered. Wayne came back to that valley again and again for the rest of his career, picture after picture, for almost 10 more years. And the old men of that town, to the end of their days, would tell you why the whole valley turned out every time the Duke's trucks rolled in. They'd tell you about the week the sky closed and the work didn't, about the paint line and the tamales and the card games on the barrel, about a man with one lung who couldn't sit in a warm hotel while other men's kitchens went quiet. Marco grew up and told his own children, and they told theirs. The way he tells it, his father Ignacio put it best, years later, oiling a saddle that didn't really need it. The rain stopped the picture. It never stopped the man. If this story reached you, do me a favor. Share it with somebody who's ever waited on weather, or on work, or on a call that didn't come. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. There are more Duke stories coming. Before we wrap up the video, a quick reminder. If you want to relive 1960s Florida or 1970s Memphis, don't forget to check out Henry's channel. Send him greetings from our channel in the comments. And finally, they don't make men like John Wayne anymore.